Good morning, everyone. We might have a small crowd today, but that's okay. We got lots of cookies and there's some coffee over there, so feel free to grab something from over on the table. We're sponsored today by Do It Best Hardware in Wayland and Bachheisen Landscaping. So sign up for one of 5 ice cream certificates that will be drawn for after this weekend. Kathy usually draws those on Monday, so I don't take any credit for who gets those. You can pay me, but it ain't gonna make a difference because I don't do the drawing. So, yeah, almost everybody will get one. You're right. Well, I appreciate you coming here, and we just want to recognize a couple of people. I would say that what the people that you're missing probably are our staff that usually accompanies me here and several board members. The reason the board members are not here, and the staff for the most part, is that they are interviewing 3 individuals today for my position, and that's going on in the administrative conference room right now. They started at 9 o'clock. There's one at 9, one at 11, and one at 1 o'clock, I believe. So I'm ringing. Anyway, that's why they're not here, and our staff is also going to be interviewing these 3 individuals in the admin building this afternoon as well. They're kind of do a round robin where the candidates will visit with the board first, and then they'll visit with the staff. So, and from my experience, when I was being interviewed, I can unequivocally say that the staff interview that I had changed my mind from being pragmatic about whether I wanted this position or not, to being one that really encouraged me to seek this job in a much different way than I had prior to that. They did a really good job, and I'm sure they will today too. So I'm hoping that the board listens closely to what the staff has to say about each of these individuals, and I know we have a really good board, and they will make a very good choice. So we're looking forward to that. Anybody have any questions about that process that I can tell you about? I don't know a whole lot about it because I wanted to stay arm's length from it, but I'll tell you what I can tell you if you have any questions. Yeah, Larry, let me get Rod, you want to do the, well, we can't get you on tape, so can you do that? Sure. This week? We're going to get you forever on video, Larry.
All right, that's good. So are these the final 3, or are there going to be others that the staff will interview also?
Good question. From my understanding is that there were about 20 that were interviewed total, and then 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there were interviewed by the executive committee, and they pared it down to 3. I think these are the final 3. If they can make a choice out of that, then they'll make the offer, and they'll go into negotiation to see if they can work up a package. But if that doesn't happen, then they'll probably start over. So hopefully they'll get it done. The goal was to get it done by the 1st of September, so I think they're well on their way. So, anything else?
Will that person be introduced to us?
Not prior to hiring.
I mean, after they're hired, if it's
Yeah,
this fall?
yeah. I think when I came here, the first time I was introduced to the park was at the September board meeting, so that would be when the new board takes over. So I'll be their first meeting. So I'm hoping they have a candidate by then or a pick by then so that they can introduce that person. this will be our last face-to-face, so you won't be able to grill them. I shouldn't say it that way. You won't be able to challenge him this year, but he may have some special meetings afterwards. But generally, after Labor Day, there's not a lot going on. So we got one question back here yet.
Is that job title, is that a contract, like where they give him him or her, a contract of 5 years or a 10-year? What were you offered?
They simply asked me how long I would stick around, given my health and if they wanted me. So at the time I said I would commit to 5 years, but not more than 10. No contract. I'm an employee at will, just like all of our staff is. So, good question. Well, no, it's no contractual employment. So, any other questions on the picks or on the protocol for finding a president? Thank you for the questions. The other people that I wanted to point out a minute are those that are running for the board. We have Paul Peppel and Larry Munger. If you would each like to say something, and we're looking to fill some space, feel free. Okay. Yeah, we do. Yeah, and the fire trucks were over here, so yeah, that's okay. We're a little early too. Generally, why don't you give Paul a microphone, then we'll pass it over to Larry. And usually we go, as you may know, we do after the board meeting. It's usually the Saturday after the board meeting, because the annual meeting is next week Saturday. We usually go before, so that's why we're doing this today. So, Paul?
I'm Paul Peppel. I'm at Site 491 in Phase 2, and I wish there was more of a turnout, but I understand there's, as you said, there's some competition and some equally, if not more important things going on, especially with the new park president.
There's nothing more important than this, right?
Well, that's
Paul.
true.
Let's get that.
But this is our last chance to get you.
That's right.
So I assume because you're here is because you care, as I do. That was part of my reason for wanting to run for the board. And I encourage you all to vote, which is coming up next Saturday, or if it's easier for you, you can do it absentee, and it's very simple to do as well. So if you have any questions of me, please feel free to ask me after, or as I say, I'm at 491, and I've met a lot of people since announcing. I've met a lot of people around the park in the last month, and it's been a great opportunity to be able to chat with people one-on-one, and you can see how I feel, and I can kind of get a pulse of the park at the same time. So I appreciate all your support, and look forward to voting next Saturday.
Thank you, Paul. How long have you been in the park, Paul?
10 years.
10 years, okay.
Hello, everybody. I'm Larry Munger. I'm at D161. I've been in the park 36 years. Like Paul said, my concern is that after being here 36 years, I decided that I give back to the park I love and volunteer my time by running for the board. I've met a lot of you. You might see me out there cruising during the day, during the week. I stop and talk to members and try to gain their support and see what their feelings are and what their issues are. And I've met a lot of you, and it's been a good experience for me. So if you would, by next Saturday, I ask you please to vote for me. Have a good day.
Thank you, Larry, and thank you, Paul, both of you. Appreciate your willingness to be a part of the board of directors. From my side of the table, I can tell you that it's a pretty hefty commitment and time and energy, and we have had some very excellent times in the last 7 years with board directors that are committed to the park, and rather than being committed to an agenda of their own. And I think that that's certainly one of the big reasons why we've had such wonderful gains in the last several years. So Rod Birch is has been very instrumental in putting together a program for the golf cart registration that's going to begin shortly. I'll let him say a few words about where we're at with that program, but go ahead.
Yes, we were, yesterday, usually Steve and I get together and we kind of go over everything that's happening, and we contacted Robin, who's a manager of Keys Davis, who is making the plates. They've had a little bit of a problem with the logo and the colors, and they finally got it straightened out. They've got that ordered. They've got the paint should be here next week. They should be starting in production next week. And that was all she could tell us at that time. She is going to get a hold of us when they get started so she can give us a date when it'll be complete. But that is the holdup, and it's more with the manufacturing than anything. We've got everything else set up. It was just a little bit of a problem with the logo and the coloring. So hopefully that will be completed. I just spoke with Scott, and he's the person in charge at Premier Metal, and he is going to start production on the brackets. Starting on Tuesday. They're going to do the cutting and bending, and then they're going to do the powder coating. After that, they should be done on Friday, and he's going to get a hold of me if there's any changes. But right now, we don't have the plates, so it doesn't do much good to have brackets. So that's about all I can tell you for right now.
Okay. Rod, do you know, because there's a delay so far of 10 days from when we were supposed to have the plates, it might be 30 days? Is there going to be an extension on the other end? Can you foresee?
She said, she had told us before 30 days, but I don't know if they're going to try to speed that up. And I'm hoping they will, because I'm hoping we'll have it before September. But I
Yeah.
really don't know that for sure.
I guess what I'm speaking to is the program implementation here at Sandy Pines. We were going to start it
On
August 1,
Right.
and you had to be compliant by August 1 next year. So
Yes.
if we are September 1, can we expect that September 1 next year would
Well-
be the date by which we'd,
Well, September 1 was
Was
the
it?
end of
Okay,
it. Yeah,
all
we
right.
gave them
Okay.
all of
all of August?
and then the end of September, they had to have it on.
Good.
But we didn't put it that way, we put it as August.
Yep.
But September 1 is the date, the ending date.
Okay, good.
So, and if we have to extend that, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, because we want to at least give you a lot of time to get this done.
We kind of
Yeah.
did that with a photo ID too, where we said, you know, it's $2 until this date, and then it's $25 after that. But we gave, I don't think we charged anybody. We gave them some grace on the back side of it, because not everybody comes every year, for
Yeah.
one thing, so.
Yeah, okay.
Anybody got any questions for Rod? Any other questions? Go ahead.
Gene, I have a two-part question. I'd like to just ask you one at a time.
Okay.
What, you're sort of looking, as you're going forward at this point in time, I know you're also looking backwards some. What are some of your proudest or happiest accomplishments, however you want to word it, that have you achieved under your leadership?
I can say that there's a number of accomplishments that have been made by a lot of people, not just me. I think we talked a little bit about that beforehand. That it's the people around you that make things happen. So in that sense, one of the biggest accomplishments I feel, and one of the reasons I felt that it was time to step away, was that we have a really good staff on hand. We have good managers. To wit, we're presenting a new budget this year, as we do every year. This year, we can only raise the dues by by CPI, and it's been pretty low. It's been 1, under 1. This year it was 1.7. The budget we're proposing is increasing by 1.4. So we're under the CPI and increasing. We're providing more services, more member services than we ever have in the past. We have more commitment into maintenance, into security, into recreation. Almost every department is supplying more than it has ever in the course of the park, and yet we're 3%, we're 0.3% under CPI as we move forward. What does that 0.3 represent? You say, well, that's not a whole lot. I wouldn't get that much on my. I don't get that much on my my savings account, so it probably doesn't amount to much. Well, on $6.5 million, it amounts to $200,000. So that's $200,000 in cash, that cash reserves that we should realize at the end of the year. Now, going back to the staff, the departmental managers are very conservative, so it's very likely that we'll have another year similar to the years we've had in the last 7 years, and that is we'll retain $400,000 to $500,000 in operational reserves at the end. What do we do with that? We pack it away. When I got here, we had I think there was around $1.5 million in cash reserves in June of that year, and in May of this year, at the end of the month, we had almost $6 million. What we did with it is we paid out of cash for the buildings, the construction project, our part of the construction project for Phase 3. So that was $1.1 million that came out of that. So we're still 3.7, almost $4 million ahead of where we were in 2012. I consider that, you know, an accomplishment. What are we going to do with that? We're not just going to sit on this project on the North Shore is going to take about 2.1 million of that. It's a $5 million project. We've been committed by FEMA to about 3 million, or they're paying 3 million, but ours will be about 2. The crosswalk, again, for safety and security. We're either going to go over or under the road to Phase 3. That's estimated at about $600,000. The next priority is probably a pool, again for safety, because we have a void of pool space that will go in the Phase 2 area. That's estimated at $500,000 to $600,000. With the influx of people, just for instance, this year in July, the 4th of July weekend, we had over 1,500 more vehicles come through the gate than we have in the year before. So we really need to increase the capacity to handle people. So we're looking at doubling the size of the main gate building so that we can have a desk where there's 2 or 3 people managing cars coming in, and then 2 or 3 people who are with members that are going into the building, so we can try and mitigate the backups that happen on the road and at the desk. So I would say, and I could talk about all day how many things that I think have been accomplished, but staff, back to your original question, staff, we're leaving the park with a good staff. So thank you. What's your other question?
You've answered my other question, so
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Yeah, I went down a couple rabbit holes, didn't I? Right here, back to here, this gentleman.
I'm going to bring us back to that plate issue. Being that you're giving a whole year to start the process, and I'm assuming this is falling under the Safety and Security Committee, or what's the committee name?
Yes, safety and security.
Safety and Security. I don't think the people that need to answer this question are here today, but policing of the non-conforming people when we get to that September date of next year, what is the fine for those who don't adhere to the new rule?
The fine for not having a plate?
Yeah, for
Is
putting
that-
on those new plates.
Okay. The fine is, I believe, $100.
For non-compliant, for illegal entry, it'd be $100.
Yeah.
For those, I think your question is, so if I delay a month or two, yeah, it would probably be a warning first, and then, we're gonna have the plates for, we ordered enough plates up so that each site will have 4 plates in place. So there's no reason to wait. We were originally just gonna order plates for those that we knew were in the park. That was a change. So now, if you have one golf cart today and you come in a year from now and you have bought another golf cart, the plate will be here. So we wanted to, the additional investment wasn't that great, so they will be available. But if you attempt to come into the park without a plate or an improper plate, that's where, probably if they're from the neighborhood, it'd be a no trespass. That would be security, so.
So it's safe to assume that being September and being fall of that year, that warning grace period will probably go all the way to the January 1 mark.
Yeah, that'd be a question, you're right, that'd be a question for Keith, but
Right.
it's pretty safe to,
Yeah.
the park gets pretty dead after Labor Day.
But at
so.
some point, we're going to have to enforce it.
At some point,
yeah.
it will be enforced, yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for sure, good question.
Thank you.
There's some of you that just walked in, thank you for coming. You had some choices this morning, so I'm glad that you chose to come here too. There's some plans for the new building across that will begin this fall that are on the table back there. The North Shore Center, as it's been called. There's some renderings and drawings in there. Ice cream certificates, sign up for those if you haven't already. We've got Wayland Hardware and Bachheisen Landscaping are sponsoring us today, and we thank them. We ask that you consider doing business with them as well. And there's coffee and cookies up there, so help yourself to those. So, Roger, would you like to give us an update on Fishing with Roger? How that's been going this year?
Well, we had, 35 or so kids, and in fact, one adult, I think, caught a fish too. It was a big one. But it was my fault that it did not get advertised this time, as it probably should have been, because I was gone the week before and I didn't go through the channels to get it advertised well. But they did at the last minute get it out there, and we had a good turnout, and a lot of parents helped, and it's nice to see the parents help. And it's nice to see the kids come up and you put a worm on for them and they say, thank you. And one little kid, someone knows here quite well, a little kid named Ezra, little short little bugger. And I had one of the persons in the park, her grandson, I think it was there, and he's actually going to be a special ed teacher. And I had him work with this little guy. And at the end of the time, this little guy came up to both Jack and myself and gave us hugs. Of course, mine was around my knees because he's, but that's why we do it. And the park, though, could use a few more good fishing rods. Someone gave me a whole load of rods there. You saw them. And they said if you can use them. Well, I pick and choose, and a lot of times pull parts off that I can use on another one, but we can always use rods and reels. But we have fun with the kids. We really do.
Thank you, Roger.
And this guy over here is great. Oh, I got to praise on him again.
Yeah.
Right away, he wasn't there. He was at a rec staff. What was it? What do you call it? Yeah. Well, anyhow, he was working with these kids all year, and he felt he should be with them, which he should be. And he came later. But the kids right away were asking, where's Austin? And then as soon as Austin came, you could hear down the line, the kids knew he was there.
That's great.
Good deal. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Austin's the guy behind the camera. He works for the rec department, and this is a young man that has shown the ability to have a wonderful work ethic and to care about the park and the people he's working with and the people he's working for. So we really appreciate his help in making things much better for us all this summer. So thank you, Austin. Anybody got anything else? Yes, Karen?
This is back to our original discussions, but we've worked the elections the past several years. There's lots of people in the park that complain a lot, but they don't vote, and voting is what you need to do. So the percentage of people that actually come out to vote isn't that great for a park that it's easy. You can do an absentee ballot right today if you wanted to go over there. So everybody should be getting out and voting and expressing their opinion that way, the correct way.
That's a good point. Thank you very much. Next week is the annual meeting, so we're all kind of preparing for that. I'm thinking of changing up the format of my part of it for a little bit, so I haven't decided on it for sure, but usually I have about a 1,500 word report that I read in it because I'm not a good speaker. And that can get pretty boring, according to my wife. So maybe we'll just have a family meeting next week. I guess that's the format I'm thinking of doing, is just allow people to do what we do here, is just ask questions, and I can expound a little bit more freely with different areas of the park. Where there's questions like, where are we today compared to where we were? Where are we today compared to where we're going to be? Vision is a big part of this job, and but you can't have a vision without having support. So we need support of the membership. We want to provide things that the membership not only wants, but what they need. So there are times that we can't provide what the membership wants. I know one particular thing that I'm thinking of right now is the indoor pool. That's come up in the board meetings. I believe that you're going to get one. We'll get one here at some point. But that will take an assessment. I've given some numbers to the board at their request for the estimates that I would throw out there for an assessment for the capital part of it, and then an operational assessment that would have to follow up with it. So we'll see where they are with that, but I do think that you'll see a survey from the board this off season, that you'll give them some direction of where you would like to see that building, what it would look like. We just finished up the maps we have for the park for people who are visiting, and said, okay, we just finished up the map for next year. Josh approved it yesterday with the folks that print that, and on that map there is a designation for a future indoor pool. So we're going to keep it in front of everybody's attention to see if we can get that done sooner rather than later. But one of the big things that I believe has been an accomplishment as well has been the fact that we've done almost after this project is done, we'll have done about $7 million worth of projects, construction projects on buildings that will last 100 years. Can you imagine that? We're going into the 50th year. So at the sesquicentennial, is that what they say? Those buildings will still be standing. and we did it with cash. There's no assessments. If you look at the history of what we've got, and it was the way it had to be built, so we can't complain. I mean, but everything required an assessment. And the Golden Onion building, for instance, talking to Steve DeArmond, who's been here for 35 years, there was a request on a ballot 3 years in a row to put a new roof on it, and it failed. They couldn't put a roof on a building without an assessment. What happened? They got a new roof. The building had to burn. So the building started on fire, and that's why the insurance got a new roof. We are in such a different situation today, and we've had so many opportunities for improvement, and there's more to come. This is I hate to say this is only the beginning, but it really, there are a lot of opportunities that have come to us, not of our choosing, not of our knowing. I think God really loves this place.
Talking about money reminded me, we've camped all over the United States, lots and lots of places, nothing like this. And we sold our travel trailer when we came here because we weren't using it. But poor Roger, he just pined away for another travel trailer. So we just bought one. So we went camping last week, and we're shocked at the price of campsites. We are very fortunate. We paid $60 a night, no TV, no cable, no lake, no water park, none of those things, and $60 a night. So I think we have a great bargain here and a great asset, and we just really need to appreciate it and the people that are here.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, we happen to agree with you, and we're kind of short-handed with a couple of folks in the administrative area of the company that are out on medical, so we're a little short-handed. But I had before Kelly had to leave the office for treatments, I had asked her to renew the survey that she does. There's about 20 parks that she in the area that she would every 2 or 3 years check on those to see what our pricing was compared to those, and so it'll be interesting to see if there's any change in that. But there are no parks that have as many amenities as we do. So yeah, it's a great place. Great place. Yes.
I want to thank you for arranging, or whoever arranged, to get some pickleball paddles over on this side of the park.
Are you the person that suggested it? That's where it came from. It came from out of a face-to-face meeting, and I thought it was a grand idea. I ran it past Jack and Nikki, and they jumped right on it, and Nikki had to go buy a little more equipment, but thank you for the idea.
Well, what do you have there besides pickleball paddles?
I think there's shuffleboard and tennis. No, not tennis, because we don't, yeah, there's I think there's some tennis rackets there.
I think we need to put something out so that people know it, and now I'm going to suggest that maybe we get a little official sign to put by those courts saying that equipment is available either at the rec center or
Good idea.
Park and Garden.
Good idea. Yeah, you want to run for president? Great. You bet. You know, my wife says it all the time. Anybody else got anything? I'm going to write this down so I don't forget, because I'm 67 and I don't remember all. That's right. Okay. Okay, any other questions right now? If not, I'm going to let you in on another thing that happened this week, and that is that earlier this year, we requested a lake and fishery survey from Restorative Lake Services out of Grand Haven. Restorative Lake Sciences, sorry. We received that this week. It was 98 pages. I'm on like page 50 right now, so I'm getting there. But we're going to try and work our way through that as a staff within the next few days, and then meet to discuss it. And then we're going to meet with the folks at RLS to see, give us the working man's version of that report, because there's a lot of Latin in there, I think. So, but anyway, overall. We are pretty unique, I'm finding, in a lot of ways. Not all of it's good. One area that I think is going to be a particular challenge in the years to come is that may have not been here prior to 15, 20 years ago, is that our watershed is, that is the area that water drains into the lake. The watershed that we are in, the map was pretty telling. It starts about in Hopkins, that far away, and everything drains this way. Goes through the lake and then out to the river, and then out to Lake Michigan. The watershed is estimated at 10 times the size of our lake, which is generally a number that is 2 to 3 times. So with the changes in agriculture in the last number of years, the herbicides, pesticides, insecticides, fertilizers, those kind of things that are going on the crops south of us, because it's predominantly farmland, are finding their way into the lake and creating some challenges here that hopefully we can overcome with proper management. Additionally, in a way that agriculture has changed, if you guys were ever pheasant hunters in this area years ago, the line fences would have probably 30, 40 feet of grass area on either side of the property line. That's not the case anymore. They will farm right up to the line. So you get a lot more wash or erosion off of those farmlands, and so there's some challenges that are coming with it. So there may be a need for some additional funding to bring the lake to where it needs to be and then to maintain it. So we're really, again, I'm going back to the finances. We're so fortunate to be in the position we're in. That we can address some of these problems, challenges, and take small bites at least, without having to add anything to the costs of our dues. Our dues pay for 47% of our costs. The rest of it has to come from profit centers. So. Our dues and assessments, I should say. So you take the assessments off, and our dues cover about 35% of what our costs are. So through all of that, we have been able to generate revenue that allows us to have a capital or an operational reserve. Next week, I will be asking the board to allow a transfer of up to $1.5 million out of operational reserves into capital for the funding of the new building. So again, it's a cash situation, and it'll be a wonderful opportunity for the park to have that building. Go ahead.
Yeah, you were just talking about blaming it on the farmers and such for the assessment.
No, not blank. Okay.
Are there restrictions within this park? I know lawns going out to the lake. I don't know if many people fog their areas or what, but, let's not put the blame on everyone.
No, farmers feed us, so I'm not gonna, you can tell by my physique that I am pro-farmers. All I'm saying is that their practices have changed, and absolutely. And what she asked, if you haven't heard, is, okay, so the farmers, we're throwing them under the bus for the things they're doing, but we, around the lake here, what are we putting on our lawns? What are we putting in our trees, and what are we spraying around? So it's a good point. The fact is that our rules say we can't use any of that kind of stuff. It has to be compliant with DEQ near water. But the reality is that you go to Walmart and you buy what the cheapest is probably. So and you use it. But yes, we have algae plumes in the lake, and we have some. We're starting to see some challenges with fish reproduction. So we probably have to do more planting. There were a number of species that were in the lake, and they're still there, that we never had to replace. We were replacing hybrid bluegills. We were planting hybrid bluegills, walleye, and perch. Walleye won't, because of the species, it's not supposed to reproduce here in the lake. But we've had what'd you say, Roger, the 5th largest walleye in the state came out of this lake? Roger does a lot of fishing here. So it was in 2015, he said the 5th largest walleye in the state came out of this lake. So we've had a good history. We just want to make sure that the future is retained as the past has been enjoyed by the membership. So, yes.
One thing you might consider is a lake limit here. We can't do it from the state, but on the size limit on bass for keeping, because this year has been a lot of smaller bass. I mean, we have a healthy bunch, but they're no longer are you getting all the big ones that they are there. There are a few of them, but I think people are keeping a lot of bass, and personally, I like to throw them back so I can catch them again.
Yeah, one of the other things I saw in the report, to speak to that, is the plankton and the food down below the water here. It's almost a desert here now, and there's very little growth. So that's one of the things we need to find out, how we can manage that and encourage that growth again. I don't know if I want to show you the report, because it will tell you exactly where the fish are. No, he knows. You're right, Paul. You got one back there, Rod.
That's not about fishing.
All right.
But I am fishing. Because I hear the neighbors all talking about some fire code that there can be nothing within 4 feet of your dwelling or your steps. And I didn't see anything in the newsletter. What about all these people that's got all their sheds and garages and whatever within that territory?
Yeah. Now you're talking about DEQ, so we're not going to talk about trying to make sense out of this. But the rule for campgrounds has been always that you need 4 foot clear around the living area. That being said, we can still have air conditioning units there. We can still have our LP gas tanks up against the building. There are a number of there's bushes up against the building. See, the challenge is what does the DEQ mean by 4 foot clear? So and on our license, if you go into our admin office, in that door on the north side, walk into member service, and immediately turn to your right, you'll see our license, our campground license on the wall. And the bottom, in small words, it says non-compliant. We would like to see that say compliant. So our practice in the last number of years has been that if you want to build a shed, it had to be 4 feet away. Unfortunately, it wasn't in the past, and even in the recent past, it wasn't in our rule book. It was only by voice. So last year, the Rules Committee wrote the language and put it in our rule book, so now it says you gotta have 4 feet. Well, that made a lot of people, as you said, non-compliant. So what the board did about a month ago was Rules Committee came to them with okay, here's an idea that we need to show, bottom line is we want to show the DEQ that we're attempting to be compliant, right? So what Ralph did, our inspector, went to the Rules Committee and asked them, instead of 8 feet from the road and 2 feet from a sideline or back line, can we stay on the line and only 4 feet from the road? Because the DEQ doesn't care if they're back to back on the lines. They just want it away from the house. So we've had, that will take care of a lot of the issues that are over in Phase 6, Phase 5. I know there's some in here in Phase 4 too, that as they're required to become compliant, as they make a change on their site, then you'll have to change that shed. I just had mine moved. I planned on having it moved way before we decided to put it up for sale, but to be compliant, it's going to have to be moved. So, or you have to have a smaller shed. But in a lot of cases now, you can keep your shed and just slide it ahead or slide it to the side, and you'll be compliant. So it will save a lot of money. I think it saved me about $2,000. So, but the important thing is now at the end of the year, Ralph can go back to Sarah at the DEQ and he can say, you know what, this is the rule change we made. These are the number of sites that have now become compliant. Are we totally compliant? No. We might not be for 10 years yet, but if we show an effort to be compliant, I don't see the DEQ, because we are proactive with them and we want to work with them. I don't see the DEQ coming in saying you got 30 days to be compliant or we're going to shut you down. That we don't want to happen. I don't see it happening either. So, thanks for the question.
Continuing in that same question, so now if someone's shed or their garage, like in Phase 6, so many of them are like 3 foot from the trailer, if they want to put those up for sale, is there something in writing that says that before they can sell it, it must be compliant? Or if someone purchases, it must be compliant?
The answer to your question is yes. In the rule, it's required that any rule that Sandy Pines makes with respect to site issues, that can be grandfathered. But any rule that is a DEQ rule cannot. We have to abide by that. So to answer your question, you might see some things not change, but when it comes to that, they will have to change them. Yep. Rod's getting his exercise today. That's good. Thank you.
I need it.
Can you give us some insight on lease agreements on the property here in reference to the Outback, the Dairy Dip? The rec center now is run by the park?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So I know you don't want to give exact numbers out, but I've always been curious whether those people are under some type of a time contract as far as years, or if it's year-to-year contracts, or if it's, I heard the term one time, Dairy Dip was lifetime. I'd like to, maybe squash that rumor if that's true, or tell us if it is. And the second part is, can you give us a percentage of what income that generates per year for us as members, as a whole?
Yeah. Thank you. It's a good question. It's packed with a lot of difficult answers, but the leases the leases that we have are the cafe, the general store, country store, the hair place, the dairy dip. I think those are the only ones. We use square foot numbers that are comparable with what real estate leases are in the area, and we try to maintain somewhere close to that. Now, there were some that were pennies on a square foot when we started this, so we're working them up to say, you know, we got a fiduciary responsibility at Sandy Pines to be financially whole in terms of allowing you to come in and be the only person that does this. So there's some value there. The other side of it is that it's not open to the public, so that there is some restriction to a retailer. But so we're finding that balance in there, and I think on the leases, if you look at the financial statement of last September, I want to say there were, because we only lease it for 5 months, April, May, June, July, August. Nope, the other way. May, June, July, August, September. So we get 5 months out of each one. I want to say it was $40,000 somewhere in there total, which isn't a huge deal, but it's something that the membership enjoys, and it doesn't, you know. The downside of it is the park pays the taxes on it, and we hold that year-round for 5 months' worth of use, but that's kind of typical for this business. So, with respect to the length of the leases, yes, that you heard correctly. There was a lifetime renewable lease, 10-year lease renewable. It took since 2014 until last year for me to work with Jim to change that. We now have an end on it. I believe what we got are 3 5-year terms, one 5-year with 3 more 5-year options. At least 20 years, that's going to be the end, so he's going to have to move on or renegotiate. There's also a caveat that was added in there that allows the park, the board, if they decide they got a better mousetrap for that area, they can buy his business at a predetermined formula. So we can do that. But good questions. Yeah, been an interesting ride. I work good with Jim. He's a good businessman, and I don't blame him for taking the lease that he got. But evidently, it was a pretty sweet deal. So, yeah. Thanks for the question. Anybody else? No question? Yeah, Larry.
I guess the other major issue is how's the PA 330 going?
PA 330 is doing well. It's not going as fast as I'd like it to, but there's a lot of certifications that have to be done, and what our plan is to become totally certified in every area that they're going to expect us to be, so that when we bring it to them, they don't have to say, well, you got to go back and get certified here, you got to get certified there. Our director of security, Keith Garvelink, is now not only certified in several areas that are required, but he's a certified trainer. So he's gone to be taught, and now he's going to be teaching our own folks. So that'll be a big help. The other thing we need to have is an open communication and good relationship with the county. In order for the state to look at us to be certified in a PA 330, we need to have the approval of the county sheriff and the county prosecutor. So we've been working with pretty diligently to to have a good relationship with them, and I believe that's going along pretty nicely. They have an understanding that we are not here to take their place. We are here to assist them. I don't know if you realize it, but Allegan County is 900 square miles, somewhere in there, and they have generally 3 people on per shift. So that's each officer is responsible for about a 300-mile range. So it's not unusual for us to wait. The normal time is about 35 minutes, but we've waited 3 hours for somebody to show up. This would highly shorten that time, and it would allow us to. The PA 330, if you're not familiar with it, you can Google it and find out what the details of it are. But basically, what we're in it for is to have the authority to hold people, whether it's drugs or alcohol, felons that have wants and warrants on them, or people that are disruptive in the park. We can't, at this point, we can't hold them. We can say, stay here, but they don't have to stay. They can leave. So one thing is the authority. The next thing is information, or LEAN, which is Law Enforcement Information Network, so that we would have the ability to have access to what law enforcement has access to in terms of information, background information or immediate information on anyone that's on our grounds, so that we could take action immediately with that. And we can charge. With that authority, we can charge directly to the prosecutor's office, bring charges to them, where now it has to go through the sheriff department. So it would be a great assistance to them. It would be a huge benefit to the Sandy Pines. And another accomplishment has been this security department. We've since the restructure, we've hired some highly skilled law enforcement folks, and we've installed a new camera system that has been used so many times already to solve issues that have come up, and this whole area of safety and security is going to be a big improvement. We're going to another whole level, and in terms of what's best for the park. So we're looking forward to continued work in that area. You got anything else, Larry?
Yes, you said earlier you're going to rework the guard shack down here. Are you going to include to add a holding area since we're going with the 330?
Yeah, yes, you're right. One of the requirements is that we have a holding room. It doesn't have to be very big. It's almost like a closet, the way it sounds. So yes, one of the things we'll have to do to be compliant is to have a place for evidence, an area for evidence, a locker, or a lockable area, and then a place to hold someone.
So are you going to have holding areas in both the condos and the Phase 3, since you're not able to transport them across county roads?
Good question. I'll have to ask Keith about that. Maybe we'll have him walk across the road. No, it's a good question, Larry. As far as I know, they were only going to have one, and because we can't. You're right. We cannot go outside the park to patrol. That's not our intent, and it's not the intent of the program. So, you bring up a good point, and it's one that we're going to have to ask the sheriff department how they'll allow us to do that. But we run our equipment to Phase 3 as well, and I think that we got a pretty good relationship with and improving with the sheriff department. They probably prefer to see us taking someone across the street in a marked vehicle, because we have to mark the vehicles a little differently too, as opposed to seeing golf carts running across the street. So, but it's a good question, and I'll bring it up. Got anything else, Larry?
Not this time.
I can't find it in the footprints here, but somewhere I read that when we pick up our new license plates, that we'll have to write down our VIN numbers. I haven't crawled around my golf cart, but are those something hard to find?
I can address that for you. We had looked into that. At first, that was what was supposed to happen, but it is very hard to find a VIN number on a golf cart. So Sandy Pines is going to give you a Sandy Pines VIN, and that VIN will be attached to your golf cart. That helps identify also. So if you have a golf cart and they come in and they don't have or they have somebody else's plate and they don't have that VIN, then they're coming in with somebody else's, that's for sure. Yeah. So that was one of the ways, and the other way is we are going to have different color tags for the different years that go on the plate that is just like your plates on your car. And so that's another way that we can designate that you're either here legally or you're not. Okay? Yeah, yeah. Just a second.
Good. All right. Anybody got any other questions about what's going on in the park here? Yes.
I saw the lady pick up a footprints, and that reminded me. Then I walked over there to get one, but it's an old one.
Oh,
It's from June.
my bad.
And what I think I remember in the last footprint that Kathy from the sales office had a little article in there that concerned me a little bit, and that is they lost financing on trailers. Is that correct? There's no banks that want to finance anymore, which could be a problem because now if you want to buy a trailer in here, either you have to pay cash or you have to get a home equity loan on your house, and some people might not qualify. And I thought she said they're trying to work on that again to get financing again. Do you know anything about that?
I do. To answer your question, there's a federal mandate that came down last year to banks and credit unions with respect to borrowing against memberships. It could be golf course memberships, it could be memberships at Sandy Pines or whatever. They are the ones that insure the FDIC, insures the banks, right? So the banks pay attention to what the federal edicts say that are coming down. And so a lot of them that we had did comply with federal and say, you know what, we're not going to do it anymore. And I believe that it was a very strong suggestion from the federal side, but I don't believe it was a mandate that had to be complied with. Maybe for some it did. I'm getting into the weeds I don't know about. So, but nonetheless, the institutions that were taking loans, applications for us, or for members, we don't do any loans, but they stopped, and it has had an impact on sales. So Kathy has been continuing to look for someone who will step out of the line and say, you know what, I think you're a good risk, I think we'll do this. We did have a company she's working with a company out of North Carolina that they sent over an agreement. I reviewed that agreement, and it was a little too one-sided to the credit union. So I made some changes to it, and then, or suggested changes, and then we're sent that, right now that's back in their office, and if they say, yeah, I think we're not far apart, then I'll get another draft from them, and then I'll send that to our attorney to make sure that it's covered properly. If that happens, then maybe we'll have at least one institution that will take a chance on it. But one of the credit unions that were lending money within the last 5 years. The representative was also a member here, and I believe he said that within 2 years he had almost $3 million worth of loans. So I mean, there's a lot of money to loan here, and I from my experience with dues and accounts receivable, yes, there's some challenges, but overall, people pay their bills. So I think.
That's why when you look around, I think this year we have a lot more places up for sale. That's probably part of it, and it could impact us in the next 5-10 years.
Right. Yep. It could. And we usually turn over 120 to 200 sites a year. I think right now Sandy Pines has 42 or 43 listings. So that's not unusual. Actually, it's a little low, but maybe there'll be more. What I've seen already is land contracts, and I'm not promoting land contracts. I prefer not to be a borrower or a lender, but nonetheless, there are some that are willing to do that.
Well, if you're an older couple and you're moving from out of the park because of age, then you're not looking for a land contract.
Right. Yep. Cash is always good. Cash is good. Yes. Did you have a question, ma'am?
I do. So I know there's an ATM near the ranger station, and
Yeah.
it's for Chemical Bank. Do they have a lease there?
No, they own the building.
Oh, they
And
own
I don't know how that happened.
Because it just seems like if we have an ATM in the park, shouldn't they be offering financing to the members? Or have some avenue of financing?
Yeah.
Available if they have that
I'm sure
luxury
we've
of being
knocked
in
on
the
their
park.
door. They used to be Byron Center State Bank, and Sandy Pines did all their lending from Byron Center, and I think they had a good relationship in the past. But yeah, the chemical, somehow or another, they don't pay a lease either, but that's their building. We get to pay the taxes on it, but we also get to use inside all our, the mailboxes we have, those are all, we don't pay anything to them either, but I think what it's going to take it's going to wind up being a credit union that's going to be most interested. Yeah. Yep.
You bring up mailboxes. I understand there's issue of large packages being dropped off at the administration building and people picking them up. What we use in Florida is that by the mailboxes, they have large boxes, and they have about a dozen of them, and the post office, at least, not the other delivery services, but the post office is able to put a package in those boxes and put a key in your box so that you can get your package out. Would that be a possibility that we could do that here to leave the problems over in the administration building?
Well, thanks for your concern, first of all, because it is a concern. It's a lot of work, and there's a liability on us for that. So I've heard of those boxes, Larry. Right now, we're working on the potential of hiring, like you said, of hiring someone to deliver for us, or to have a separate building that everything would go into, and it would be manned by an employee for a certain period of time each day, so that people could come and get their packages. We've got couches, we got grills, we got skill saws, table saws coming in there, and it's amazing what gets shipped. And when you have the Amazon Prime Day or whatever, holy smokes. Yeah, and the downside is it's not so much, it's labor, that's intensive. It's medical, like diabetic stuff, that comes in. It's got to be refrigerated. We're responsible for that kind of stuff until it gets picked up. So, but for a lot of people, they live here. So, the side of serving the membership is also a concern. We want to be able to do that. But the big boxes could be a possibility, Larry. I think that's one of the things they're talking about having, if they do another building, it would be, they would have access from the outside so that they could just open that box and, how big are they? Do you remember?
Maybe a foot by a foot and a foot
Okay.
and a half deep.
So they'd take care of a lot of packages that come in that are, you know,
Yeah,
that size, so,
For,
yeah,
for our need, yes, it usually does.
yeah, yeah. Do they do anything with refrigerated stuff, or don't know?
All of our refrigerated stuff would come by a different delivery system. It
Yeah.
wouldn't come through the mail.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got one member right now that is willing to become a delivery person, but we have to look at the liability on her for making deliveries in the park. And what do you do if you don't find anybody home? Do you leave it on the porch? You know, those kind of things. Those are the kind of issues we're trying to work through right now. But yeah, that's a concern that really needs to be taken care of, or it needs to change so that at least we can do a better job for the member and do a better job for the productivity of our staff. Yes.
Question on the, and I know you're not done with the survey yet,
Yeah.
but we had extreme erosion, I believe, over by our lots, and I know there's some issues over by the electrical poles.
Yeah.
Did any of that come up, and is there something that you guys are looking at doing for that to save the lake?
I'm sure it's in there. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
It's got to be somewhere between page 50 and 98. So, but I saw a picture of the shoreline at 299. And yeah, unfortunately, that's an issue that should have been addressed probably 10 years ago. And it would have saved a lot of that. And as you can see all the way around the lake, there are a lot of people who took care of that.
Sorry.
Oh, I know I was the one who pulled the permit for the DEQ over by Kelly and us.
Yeah.
And I know that the DEQ, the paperwork is unbelievable. But there is a way, and I don't know if Sandy Pines can do it, where Sandy Pines can get an account set up there, and then each individual that wants to do something would be able to do it. I understand there was somebody that put some crushed concrete or some stuff in that does not meet DEQ permits and
Right.
had to remove it. That paperwork would solve a lot of those issues if it was announced that they have to get a DEQ permit, but there's a site to go to know what to do, because a lot of stuff is not allowed.
Yeah. And that's why we wanted to, I understand what you're saying, but I think the process of going to the DEQ first is the process that the board would prefer to keep. And then it comes to us for approval, as you did with you know, you came with a plan and a permit. So.
But because this is a membership and we own no real estate, every individual, like I had to do, has to get Sandy Pines permission and have a letter. And I don't know that people know that. So if you go to the DEQ, Jason will not give you a permit until you have permission from the owner of the property, which
Correct.
is Sandy Pines' responsibility.
That's correct. We are listed as the landowner.
Yes.
Yep. Yep, that's right. Larry, did you ever get a permit?
I haven't heard anything yet.
Oh, you're still in the process?
I've hired a contractor off the list, and he's handling the paperwork
Okay, all right.
for me and my neighbor.
Yep, yep, okay. Yeah, it's a process. I think I worked about a year and a half on just getting the handicap dock over by the boat launch. But, yeah. Good thing. We have, with respect to the erosion, we have had, we've been able to enjoy high water for a number of years, and not just here, but Great Lakes. And the gentleman who owns the company that is that owns a cell tower, he lives out north of Holland on Lake Michigan, and he brought me photos of his high bank beach. The beach was gone. He had a series of zigzag steps going down. They were hanging in the air, or the bottom part of it was gone. And so he's also seeing the effects of high water in his place.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit here. We came to Sandy Pines in 2002, and one of the things that has always impressed me a great deal, and I think a lot of people probably feel this way, but it's the children and the sense of freedom the children have here, and parents letting their kids ride their little bikes around a circle or something. And I think that the children have always been of great importance in keeping them safe here in Sandy Pines. I've always felt that way. And I see the license issue on our golf carts as a stride in keeping our children safe, in the sense that outsiders will not be able to come in so easily, because we don't know who's coming into the park. And with the, what I want to ask is, with the PA 330, if they confront somebody that has come into the park, and if they feel there's something suspicious, can they run a background check on that person who's come into the park and find out about that person?
Yes, with a lien. That's the Law Enforcement Information Network.
Yeah.
They would be able to let me see your driver's license, sir or ma'am, and then they would be able to run that, just like a law enforcement officer when he pulls you over.
So I think between the driver, having a license plate, which is going to help to identify people who do not belong to Sandy Pines, and with the PA 330 being able to find a background check, and is this person, what is their background? I think that's really important for the safety of our children, and I'm really glad we're taking each of those steps.
Thank you. Yeah, I am too. And with respect to your comment about the little kids, that's one of the areas that I hold personally responsible, myself personally responsible for that. I want to when we were here in 83 to 93 with our kids, they were always on the road with their bikes. And they weren't allowed to go across the road, but they would go anywhere in the park. We still see that today. I don't want that to change. So, we'll have 5, 6, 7-year-olds pedaling their little 10-inch bike around. I love that, and we have to protect them from the ability to not be able to do that anymore, for a parent to be fearful of letting their child go under their own restrictions. So, thanks for bringing that up. It's an important issue. So, yes, ma'am.
I want to compliment the park. Last Sunday when I went to the morning service, to find out that we had over 400 children in Bible school.
Is that what that was?
That is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is.
And I think that we ought to applaud ourselves, because there are some large churches in the area, and I would like to see them hold their candle up to over 400 kids in Bible school.
Yeah. Yeah. We have great leadership at the chapel too. So, yeah, a lot of grandparents have kids in the park that week, don't they? Good point. Thank you. Anything else from anybody? How has your summer been? Do you have any highlights that you'd want to share with your summer, about your summer so far? None of you are having any fun, huh? Oh, Darlene is here. Rod, Darlene is also running for the board, so if you'd like, we gave Paul and Larry an opportunity to say something. So if you'd like to say something, go right ahead.
Sure. Well, thank you for that opportunity. Hi, I'm Darlene DeWitt, and I'm running for board of directors. And I'm excited for next week to get here. And, I've had a really, really good summer. I just want you to know that. I just found out yesterday I was accepted into a mentorship program. So I was pretty excited about that. And I just love to do stuff like that. I love to be involved and get my hands into stuff. Our golf cart is broken again this morning. So I'm driving, and so I've been thinking in my whole head, what's plan B going to be? So that's probably the one thing this summer that we've had the most problems with is our golf cart. But we're ready. I think we're ready to do something about that. You know, you just get to that point, you know.
I've got a site with a golf cart that's for sale. by the way. D67.
Yeah, and you know, and because it's Christmas weekend, all the golf carts are spoken for this weekend. So anyway, but we'll work it out. I'm not too worried about it. And so I'm just really, I'm newer to the park. 3 years we've been here. My husband Dale, I think he's over working on the golf cart right now. And we've just really enjoyed our time here. Like I said in my bio, I hope you had a chance to read it. He and I have been coming here for like the past 10 years. I believe we've looked at every trailer for sale here. And so we finally found the one, and we've been very, very happy. And so we have friends over on the other side of the lake that we spend a lot of time with. But we're just really getting involved and getting to know people. And as I've been out campaigning, I've just really, really loved talking to people and hearing their story and learning more about them and introducing myself. So if anybody here does have any questions, want to know a little bit more about me, I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Good.
So
Thanks.
thank you. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Darlene.
that.
Sure. Sure. If you're just coming in, make sure you get a cookie and a cup of coffee and sign up for ice cream certificates. I see Jess back there and Bob back there. You guys are recently have come in, so feel free to help yourself there. Yes.
I'll share a story.
All right, we got a story.
We've been here 30 years, my husband and I, and my daughter.
30 years? I'm
30
sorry.
years,
30
yes. And my daughter was raised here, and I just read in the last footprints, we had guests here from Japan. Well, my daughter's lived in England for 14 years, and she comes home to visit every summer, and every summer she now has children, but they have to come to Sandy Pines, and they were here twice last week.
Awesome.
Enjoying the park, so.
That's awesome.
It lives on.
Are you the folks that you had people coming from Japan here? Is that right?
No, she's from Lakewood.
Oh, okay. All right. We do have a member that stopped by my office this week with a small business card with the word how to say welcome in Japanese, because they have some friends coming from Japan, and I just wondered if that was related at all.
My grandchildren speak very British.
Okay.
So anytime they talk to anyone in the park, people always do a double take.
Good.
I'd like to share a story,
Sure.
Gene. My wife and I decided to come back from Arizona, and we'd been there for 12 years, and we went back and forth between here and Arizona, and we've been here since 1998. And when I came back, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with myself, but I found out that working with Gene and the staff has been a pleasure. I have enjoyed it so much, and they've all been so helpful in helping me with safety and security and everything. That's probably the thing that I enjoy the most. Everybody seems to be very, like Gene says, when you deal with the staff, and Gene both, because I will miss Gene a lot, but this is something that has been very fulfilling for me, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Rod. I'll tell you that it takes, like I said earlier, it's folks like you that volunteer their time and energy that really make the park what it is today. If we had to hire all this work, we would not be in the position we are physically or financially or even with human resources. So very important, our volunteer program. If you're interested in doing anything, if your husband or wife wants you to get out of the house once in a while, come and see Kathy Brott. She'll steer you in the right direction and give you an area to go see where you might have some interest or you got gifts to help. So.
And my wife has enjoyed it also. So.
Yeah. That's good. Anybody got anything else? We're here till 11, so we got cookies and coffee yet, but I will say that if you have a chance to go to the annual meeting next week, please go. It's on at the chapel, yeah, and there'll be I'm hoping that I can talk myself into doing a format similar to this. I enjoy this much better than reading a report. And eventually, if you have enough people asking questions, you get all the things you want to say anyway about it, and it's more impromptu. So if you can come to that, you know the process already, you know the protocol already, you can go stand up to the mic and ask some questions. So that's good. Yes?
Just a small story. So many, many years ago, 40 years ago, I met my lovely wife out here. And we're now back as members. But yeah, we're now enjoying this park. I was working the pavilion here with Jerry Brower. I was cleaning the pavilion here, and she came down actually it was the walkway, not the beach, but one of those Bo Derek moments, so I was able to catch her. And this year, not only have we had our grandchildren out here, and more times than not catching fish over there by our new rock wall on the very first cast, some of those nice bass that they do let go and put back in to catch bigger later. But we actually also had our great-granddaughter from Arizona have visited here this summer too. So we've just enjoyed this year. It's been amazing. God has truly blessed us with some awesome weather the last month and a half. And we're looking to finalize the year here.
Awesome. Good. That's a good story. Great story. Karen, you got a story over here?
Wanting to know about highlights for your summers. Well, lots of people care about the golf course or the water park, or those aren't the reason we're here. We're here because of the chapel, and it's such a great asset, and the Vesper programs in the evening. That's the main highlights for us, and we really love being involved in the chapel. So if you don't go to chapel, it's a great asset too.
Thank you. And you're right, it's a great asset. Another thing that we did in the last couple of years was we had a conversation with Ted Boscraft, because there was a question of why is the chapel over there, and do you have any paperwork that says it's got to stay there, or can it be developed, or what's going on with that? He said, no, we just pointed at it and said that looks like a good place to put a chapel. So that's what they did. So what we did was, out of an abundance of caution, we had a lease drawn up between the park and the chapel, and so now they are set for the next 50 years, and with an opportunity to renew if they need to. So we're committed that the chapel will be here for many years to come yet. So, because it is an asset.
Speaking of chapel, last Sunday night, because I don't have a way with my golf cart to take the shortcut around the corner from Phase 2 to chapel.
I hear you.
I drive my car, and I got over to the gate over there, and there was a lineup which caused a traffic hazard on that road there, because it was right at 6 o'clock and the gate was down and outsiders couldn't get in. So I was polite enough to let somebody through that gate with my card.
$100 fine.
I know it, which I'm not, but we're all backed up in the road. So I let them through, and I said, that's it, because I parked across the street by that car that's for sale, because I didn't want to be in the middle of the road. So I think somebody needs to pay attention to when is the gate open, and if we let outsiders in, make sure they can get in.
The chapel opens up. They have an agreement with security that the chapel can open. They have the ability to open that gate. They need to man it until 1 hour before, and then our folks will take it if we have the manpower to do it. So that's why you see our guys there occasionally, our guys and gals. Yeah, so well, I guess what I'm saying is that's within the time frame. Prior to that would be when the chapel is responsible for opening it up, and I can't speak to that. So I will tell you that with respect to the safety of passengers in other cars trying to turn left into there, that was a concern. We tried to get a passing lane there, so for people who are northbound, and the road commission turned us down on that one. And they also know it's a concern, but the easements there, or the roadway there. You can't get in, no.
So I just fanned them in and said, go, and let other people.
What's your site number again?
934.
Oh, that's 10 points too, you know.
Get these people off the road. Because I was like 5 cars behind them, so it wasn't back to back, me and the person getting in.
I will tell you a little secret though. Once you let somebody in with your card, it'll be 10 minutes before your card works again.
Mhm.
Well, like I say, I had to get out on the other side of the road with that car.
Yeah, Roger.
When I was on the chapel committee, we closed the gate 10 minutes after the start of the service or the concert, which allowed the people to come in, and then we closed the gate.
Maybe that's why it was closed. Yeah, they quit manning it at 6 o'clock, like, right?
Well, we always had someone there until 10 after.
Okay, all right.
Well, not to change the subject, but I just want to give a shout out. We have grandkids who have kind of outgrown the whole swim lesson thing, and they're fish, thanks to the swim program here. But they decided to try the golf league, the youth golf league, last summer for the first time. And they both are real active, athletic kids, and I thought it'd be too slow and boring for them, but I didn't say anything. They loved it. They came back this year, and who is I can't remember his name, that runs the youth golf program?
Was it Gary? Is it Gary Peters?
Dave? I don't know. Find out, because that guy, whatever he's getting paid, it isn't enough.
Yes, it is.
He makes it so fun, and our daughter, their mother, says there are probably more kids that show up for the golf league than any other rec department around. There are 30 kids virtually every day. And when our grandkids had friends come in from Grand Rapids, and they were just here for the day, and they said, hey, can they walk along in the course? The guy was sure they can, and then he ends up buying them lunch afterwards. And so I can't emphasize it enough.
Great.
I'm an educator, so your program's only as good as the person running it.
Yes, that's
So
great.
I
Great
hope.
story. Get a hold of Gary and find out if he's doing it or if he's got someone
Yeah,
volunteering
just
to do
very,
that.
they were, matter of fact, they kind of demanded to be driven back from Rockford so that they didn't miss the last
Seriously.
golf league.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a good story too. You guys do have some good stories. Any? With respect to the golf course, another thing, this year's budget will show that this is year 5 of 10 of the golf course assessment. And in those 5 years, we've also been able to pay back Sandy Pines around $300,000 in loans that were over there in cash. Now, we say, well, you're taking it out of one pocket and putting it in the other. Yes, we are. However, with the construction projects we got going on, with the opportunities we'll have going forward, I would much prefer to have that loan in our hopper over here so that we can use it. Now it's just on paper. So part of the assessment is a way for us to do things over there that will provide a profit in certain areas. It will never carry itself. I'm not going to lie to you. It will always need to have some supplemental income at some point. But the bottom line is that we are doing much better than we were there. We have a good staff. The course is in good shape, and we've gone to another level with respect to the quality of the golf there. So we're really pleased with Gary's work over there. He's not just a clubhouse manager, he's a working manager. It's not unusual to see him out on the greens spraying at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then spending the rest of the day managing the other areas of the golf course. He's been a good asset for us, and we're appreciative of that. So if you see him, he's a big, tall guy. Let him know if you appreciate what he's doing, and go play the golf. What we're doing, one of the things we've really been working with him on in the last few years, basically since the assessment went through, was to encourage him to do social events that don't take golfers. So we have 2,160 members here. Not all of them golf. About half of them do. So, but we all pay the assessment. But if you have an opportunity to go down to the golf course for a social event that doesn't require you to be a golfer, you're going to be much more apt to vote yes when this renewal comes around. Our goal beyond that is to manage the funds that we receive properly at this point during this first 10-year period, so that at the end of the 10-year period, the assessment, we know there's going to be one, but the goal is to have it less. Right now it's 150, and if we can get it to 125 or 100, it will take some of that bite out. But we have one loan yet of about 700,000, and we have another one that has a residual of about 75,000, which I think will pay down this year. So we're getting there, and by the end of the 5-year, the first 10-year period, we should have that loan down. All things being equal, we should have that loan down under $350,000. So it's working its way down from $1.2 million. Anybody got anything else on any of the departments or any of the profit centers? The Park and Garden, as you'll see on the financial statements, Park and Garden is realizing some nice gains. Where our revenue per square foot has certainly gone up in that area since we made the move. That's another area where the capital reserve that was passed a few years ago, that's a direct result, is what you see in the retail center. It is that we've taken that building, which was in worse shape than we thought it was when we started tearing it apart to renovate it. We've taken that building that probably would have been replaced within 4 or 5 years, less than 10 for sure, to renovating it and giving it another useful life of another 25 to 30 years or more. So we're really pleased again and blessed that capital assessment, our capital reserve fund, was passed. Thank you.
As long as we're over by Park and Garden, what is the latest on the library? Where's it going to be next? Or I like it where it is right now. I'm in phase 2.
All right.
I'm tired of going over across the lake every time I want to do anything. Thanks.
You got to talk to that lady behind you that doesn't like driving all the way around to get into phase. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, if you look at those plans back there, the library would be moving into the North Shore building over here. And it will be much larger, and it will be, there'll be the ability to bring in a laptop and be able to be online in there and those kind of things. So it'll be a much expanded library. So you should enjoy it.
You're gonna put a zip line in, you can just go.
Yeah. I got a lot for sale. Okay, well, it's time to move.
But and 30 years ago, everything was right.
That's why they call it. It's interesting you say that because. Yep. Yeah, yeah. There was a question this year about renaming this area because it's called the core area, right? So because there's some amenities that are being spread out from this area in the last number of years, like the water park and that kind of stuff, and the beach area over here, and now the new building going up. There was talk of changing this name. I said, wait till I leave. Wait till I leave. Anything else? Board members. Our committee, our construction committee is made up of 3 board directors, and I think there's 4 or 5 of us on staff, and that are on the committee, and then there's 3 people from Salem Township that are on it. But we've tasked the board directors with colors, names, those kind of aesthetics to handle that, and so that's where the name came from. I think there were a number of options, but that's the one they chose. So, yeah, it'll be a good one.
Commenting on the possible expansion of the public safety office?
I did, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. Well, part of the reason, again, that we're considering doubling the size of that, what it would take is, first of all, it would have to come to the north. The expansion will come to the north side, so it would be between the existing building and the chemical bank building. So that's right where that exit is, right? So the exit would move further north, and so you would come in the same area, but you would go out a little further north than that, where you go across the street to Phase 3, or I'm sorry, to Phase 7, to the condos or to the dump. It would be a little further north of that. There'd be a path. So that being said, that's going to have to change. The building itself, we would like to have, as Larry pointed out a while ago, we're going to need a holding room and an evidence room. They don't have to be real big. We're not expecting, excuse me. We're not expecting to hold a lot of people. So that's one. And if we make the expansion, we have to have a larger restroom as well, because right now I think it's a single restroom that is his and hers, so we would have to probably split that up. Then we'd like to have a training room, a small training room mainly for the staff of security. And now we also have a deputy director and the director, so we'll need an extra office for that. The medical area where you would go in for a medical emergency, it's working, but it could be certainly enhanced and be able to handle more things than what we are able to currently do. We have kids that are taking golf cart tests, driving tests. Mm-hmm. So we'd like to put a couple carols in there, a room where they could be alone or with a parent, and then there'd be working carols so that they could take those tests there. What else we were gonna, the traffic that's coming through that gate is continuing to increase significantly. I mentioned a while ago that this year, just on 4th of July weekend, we had 1,500 more cars than we had last year. So every one of those are guests, and those have to be touched. We have to touch them and find out where they are, get their slip for their entry, their pass, and so it's more labor intensive. Is it all the time? Not all the time, but I do think with the increase in reports and incidents that we're seeing with a higher skilled security department, it is taking more labor out of that building and putting it into the field for investigations, that kind of thing. So what we'd like to do is expand that area in the front so that we're able to dedicate computers and people in that area that would take care of the incoming traffic, and then on the other side of it, have an entry on the same desk probably, but then we'd have 2 or 3 internal officers working questions from guests and members that come in, camping guests and whatever, to the other side of the desk, so that we have much more easy flow of people coming through and not getting the backup as we do now. So those are some of the big areas that we're going to be looking at. The other reason was that part of it we'll probably find a better way to have those monitors. If you've been in, there's a wall of monitors. They're really tight yet, and we could use 1 or 2 more of those screens, so hopefully we can find, eventually, I would say that in certain times of the year and certain days of the year, it wouldn't be bad to have a room and a body just watching those screens.
Mm-hmm.
Those cameras are they are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Those cameras are paying for themselves just in the things that we're seeing on it. It's quite something. So, sure. Thanks. Yes, Roger.
Just to comment, Steve DeArmond does give CPR classes. If he can get 2 or 3, 4 people, he will do a class. And at the ages of a lot of us in here, a lot of you are a lot older than me, as you. But I think it would be well to. Carol and I took the class from him 2 different times now, and you never know when you're going to need it, and know how to use the defibrillator and so on. And it's not real hard. It's just you have to know how to do it, and you never know, you could save a life.
Yeah, sure. That's a good point, Raj. Yeah, Steve is a resource that the park is enjoying, and so if you have any concerns or if you have any ideas, he loves to teach and train. So stop in and see him, and he'll put something together for you. He's I don't know if I've told you this before, but Steve is largely responsible for the FEMA grants. He has we are blessed again to have someone that has the contacts that he has and the relationships that he has with township, county, state, and federal people at the right places. And he's written about $4 million worth of grants that have been accepted here at for Sandy Pines, on behalf of Sandy Pines, just in the last 3 years. So I'm thinking that we might take him down to the golf course for a hot dog and a Coke. And maybe a brat if they aren't that much more money. But yeah, he's been a great asset, and he's been able to focus more since he's come out of security and gone into emergency services. He's been able to focus more on the safety issues around the park. Being medical, today he's working from 6 to 6, and tomorrow from 6 to 6, running in the ambulance for Wayland. And it's just great to have people of that caliber and on staff. We really appreciate him being a part of Sandy Pines at this point. So I know that one project he's working on right now is a emergency app, which is we have protocols for emergency action plans for for a number of different things that could happen here, whether it's a tornado or the dam breaching, or there's several protocols that we have, and he's putting that together with another company, an outside company, that will be on an app, and we're gonna give that we're gonna build. After it's built, it will go to our managers first, and we'll use it for a year or so, and then eventually it will be fine-tuned and used, that you as members, or we as members, can download that app, and it's really amazing how detailed it can be, and the large overview that you can have by any situation, and you can get to where you need to be right away, almost, and know what you should be doing in any situation. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a pretty big project for him, but I know he's working on that, and he'll do that. He's working on the golf cart registration thing,
Yes.
and so yeah, great staff. Can't say it enough.
Yeah.
Anything else? Listen, it was great being here. You've had some great stories, great comments, great ideas, and it's been a privilege to be a part of it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Gene.